everyone, and welcome into episode 2 of our podcast, A Jew and a Muslim Walk Into a Podcast. This is where two friends come together and discuss the complexities of our cultural backgrounds and the very complicated political terrain of our times. Bill, a lot
Yeah.
has gone on since our first episode over a month ago. Dude, how you holding up?
I'm not gonna lie. It's been a tough month
Yeah.
since we last spoke. I think things have gotten astronomically worse in Gaza and then also in America as a
Yeah.
whole. I will say, I almost, and we had a conversation about this earlier in the week. It's hard for me to be on social media anymore. I
Yeah.
think it's at some point as a human being, you realize how much of these outside things are destroying your inner peace, your inner energy. And a lot of people, they'll be like, I take a break or I do this. But then at the same time, we have a responsibility to keep people informed and let people know because perspectives are shifting in America, whether you want to believe that or not. The latest Gallup poll shows that for the first time in history, an overwhelming majority of Americans oppose arming Israel
Yeah.
to continue the genocide. Yet our Congress doesn't really care what they think, which brings me back to all the protests. We had these protests last weekend. There's a mass, get out rallies. I'm going to be completely honest. I think these protests are a waste of time. I really do. And I think they're a performative action. It falls right into the liberal handbook.
Yeah.
This comes from someone who used to be a very flaming liberal, that at least I thought so. And that is, I'm going to do a bunch of theatrics. Look at me. But there's going to be actually no action. There's going to
Yeah.
be no punch behind those theatrics. We're going to say Black Lives Matter, and then we're going to keep super funding the police military state. We're going to say stop the genocide in Gaza, and then we're going to turn around and approve weapons. And I know I'm talking about Congress and politicians, but I also feel like the average American liberal, I'm sorry, what happened? Like, we're just lazy, dude. Yeah, like you show up, cool. What changed? Nothing changed. Nothing has changed since that march. And I know maybe at the beginning a march of solidarity is good to show, but how many more marches are we going to organize just to realize they don't do anything? What people need to do is get organized, put these skills to actual fundamental action. And, I'm curious, tell me how you feel about the protest and everything.
I mean, from my perspective, I actually disagree with you. So I think it's a step in the right direction. I don't think it really does much of anything, but there's such an inertia. I don't even know if that's the correct word, but just such like an apathy within like the US public that I just think even some people getting off their asses and just going on there with the protest signs, it's like an initial first step. Like if that's where they were to stop, if that's where they were to halt and say, we're just going to continue protesting, we're just going to continue to be out in the streets, and there's no plan for an action beyond that, then it's absolutely pointless and useless. But when you look at Europe, or anytime you start to see these kind of totalitarian, like fascist regimes take over, like you do see big protests. You do see like people in the streets, and that seems to be a wave or an energetic push towards some type of reform and change. But in America, you have not seen that. You really have not seen that. Like, yes, we've had big explosions or big outbursts and protests here and there over the last few decades, but you didn't really see this for a while. Now, as I said, in of itself, is that going to do anything? No. Since our last episode, for those who are just catching the second episode, the genocide resumed. When we last got on here, there was still a ceasefire. I mean, this is insanity all the way around, right? From our perspective, since the last time recorded, there was like a little bit of like an okie doke. I don't even know the term, Bill, but just like Trump was fucking us over,
Right.
and had a backdoor deal with Netanyahu to clearly like just get him in office, to like have a ceasefire that was very much of a facade. It was very artificial, and that the moment that he got into office, hey Netanyahu, I'll give you whatever you want now that you helped me get elected, and it's full ethnic cleansing plan in full effect. Yeah, personally, I'm still a little bit in shock and processing. I don't even know how to fucking process this anymore. I mean, this is a year and a half. I don't even fully know how to sit with any of this shit. I do think that protests give some like medium for some of this anger, some of this rage to go somewhere rather than people sitting there on their ass and numbing. But I don't know, man. How are you holding up? Like, how has the last month been for you? Like, how are you experiencing all this?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's been pretty bad. I have to
Yeah.
bury myself in my work so I don't concentrate too much on what's going on. Because if I do, it often leads to an overwhelming depression and sadness and a feeling of helplessness because there's how much can we actually do? You know, we can speak up, we can post, we can talk, but now I'm being told we might not be even able to do that anymore, you know,
Yeah.
in living in America. I saw that Bitar, which is one of the radical Zionist organizations, is now making a list of Jews that support Palestine. And
Yeah,
it's
we
going
don't
to
understand
give
that.
it to Israel and the Trump administration and say, hey, these Jews are not allowed Israeli citizenship. Let me tell you, anytime someone starts making a list of Jews,
Yeah, no, it
it's
hasn't ended
usually
well
the
for us.
beginning of something bad, right?
Terrible.
So
Yeah. No, yeah, it's fucked.
I can't believe like, you know, I don't know what I thought a Trump presidency would be like, but I literally feel like we're watching America being ripped apart like before our eyes every single day. And look, I think the worst part about this is I saw Kamala Harris come out and say, I told you. She basically said, I told you this would happen. Okay. So our option was continuing genocide or
Yeah.
let's take a small break and then continue genocide.
Yeah.
Either way, we were screwed. Kamala acting like, let me remind you, Biden was in office. They didn't codify Roe versus Wade. They didn't codify trans rights, which, by the way, all these things, not really personal issues for me, but
Yeah.
these are issues that the Democrat Party claims to care about. They didn't even
Yeah.
try to expand the Supreme Court. They didn't do any of these things. And it's just kind of like, that's as a lifelong Democrat, I'm tired of the lip service. Like,
Yeah.
I'm tired of just talking. That's all they do. They just talk and then they go do the same exact stuff, or they allow the Republicans or the big corporate, you know, organizations to do whatever they want. And so, like I said, to answer your question, I have just had to bury myself, my head in my work. And that's the only way. I mean, people cope in different ways. That's how I
Yeah.
cope. It's something I can control. It's something I have autonomy over. And that allows me to move on. I mean, how have you been holding up? How have you been coping?
I'm really fucking angry. And I don't know what the fuck to do or where to put it, man. Like I don't know, as a Jewish man, I feel like a little separated in a way of, I mean, there's anger that like it's my ancestral lineage that is like mass genociding children. And I don't necessarily know where the outlet is for me to do anything, if anything, like at all about it. And I know some of my other Jewish colleagues feel the same way. I felt as bad as the Trump presidency was, I chose not to vote this round, and I still stand behind it because like a vote for the Democratic Party wasn't doing anything. It was only enabling this big political machine that was not looking after people. It's like we're going to keep electing the same thing and like not to endorse anything that the Trump presidency is doing because it is worse. But like I hope this gives the left a kick in the ass that something starts to shift or there is like a complete overhaul within the Democratic Party so they actually fucking do something now. I think Americans are stuck in a bind with this just because like the market's fucking crashing. Like we don't know how to make it. We're trying to make ends meet. We're trying to give ourselves time to be with our family. And then we have all this horrific shit being carried out by our own government, by our own military, and we don't know where that release valve is for us to do anything. I don't necessarily know if it comes from the voting booth right now because we're given these two arbitrary choices. Trump is horrific. I can't believe that back in 2016, you heard the alarm bells around fascism and all this stuff with his presidency. And yeah, there were little signs and signals, but I kind of rolled my eyes. I'm like, this is a bunch of like, boy cries wolf type stuff. But they're they're deporting anyone who is speaking out on Palestine. They're deporting anyone who is here on a student visa who is trying to speak out against a genocide amongst children. Like the right to protest is a fundamental American right, regardless of if you're a citizen or if you're on a foreign visa here. And now we're locking people up. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think protest is what people do when they don't know what that action is to get out that emotion, to get out that energy. I yell in a pillow sometimes. I have had some emotional releases with a friend or two. I'm a little bit heartbroken over what's going on, and I feel powerless. And and I'm trying to figure out what that balance is as well. For me, you have a social media platform, I do too, of like, where do we post and how, because it's also tough to be on there, dude. It's getting smashed with information and videos and seeing things that are very fucking difficult to see, but need to
Absolutely.
be seen. But like, where is that balance where you start to feel yourself also getting drained? Because sometimes I feel like I'm shouting into a void too, you know? It's tough.
It is. It is very tough. And I'll tell you, I don't know where exactly we're headed in terms of in the next 6 months. And as you've seen, especially with the tariffs, you never know, right? We apply the tariffs, we don't apply the tariffs. What's funny to me is the people that are like, oh, he applied to tariffs. He's a genius. And then takes away the tariffs. Oh, I told you he was a genius. He's
Yeah.
part of the deal. And it's just kind of like, you guys are a cult. I'm sorry. You guys are an
Yeah.
absolute cult. This guy could do anything and you guys are going to praise it. Like, and
Yeah.
it's sickening to the point where we have to be objective. Look, I thought when Trump came in, I'll be the first to admit, I thought Biden has blundered this so bad. I don't think anyone else could blunder it as bad. And during the first few days, I was hopeful. You know, they actually had a ceasefire. I couldn't believe it. But
Yeah.
now it is more than abundantly clear to me that Donald Trump is not even in control of his own administration.
No,
He
absolutely
is
not.
100% being controlled by the people around him who are pushing him to do things, whether he wants to do them or not. Because I don't remember Donald Trump's platform being, we're going to put the defense, Secretary of Defense and everyone and every asset we have to fight anti-Semitism in America. I thought it was to put America first. I don't remember Donald Trump saying that one of his first things he wanted to do was annex the West Bank and Gaza and make it a resort. That
Yeah.
wasn't his platform. So I think, and I've talked to a lot of MAGA people. I've talked to a lot of, former Trump supporters that really feel almost like he is a con man, which, let's be honest, a lot of us knew that out the gate, but
Yeah.
it's not America first. It's Israel first, whether you want to admit that or not. And not just Israel, it's also Israel first and Lockheed Martin, Boeing, all the military industrial complex. They go hand in hand. They all work together, right? War is profitable. War makes money. And the anti-war president is just proposed a $1 trillion defense budget. I say defense,
Yeah.
so much for anti-war, right? And I don't know, man. America is like, it's headed to a dark place, dude. And I talked a little bit about this with Elon Musk and people like this. These people have seemed to have forgotten that the whole point of a government is a public service.
Yeah.
There's a reason we call elected officials public servants. That's
Yeah.
why we pay taxes. So you guys do common good for the population. But they're treating this like it's a business. I think we talked about this. I saw someone say, I think it was Musk. He was saying the post office hasn't made a profit in 50, 60 years, the United States USPS. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's not supposed to. It's a
Yeah.
service to deliver mail. It's not a business, you know?
Yeah.
Well, because look, at the end of the day, you can say, I saw Trump is saying that we are making $2 billion a day from the tariffs. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Here's my question. What are you doing with that money?
Yeah.
Because obviously you're not going to put it in Medicaid, you're not going to put it in Medicare, you're not going to put it in food stamps, you're not going to put it in public services. What are you doing with that money? Are you just hoarding it, or are you giving it back to your friends and buddies? That's a serious question. And that's a lot of people that listen, I want them to ask themselves. I keep hearing, oh, we slashed this, oh, we slashed that, oh, we cut this, oh, we cut that. Okay, good, cool. What are you doing with that money now? Where is it going? Because I've heard no follow-up plan for what we were going to do with all the money we save. And as of now, I'm still paying taxes.
Yeah.
Like, I think beyond the depression of what's happening in Gaza and everything, it's seeing the American public being ripped off before my very eyes, like to such an extreme degree. Like, I'll say this, like, yeah, Joe Biden, awful president, awful guy. But damn, I don't really, I've never seen a president use his presidency to enrich himself and his friends the way I have seen Donald Trump, and to do it so shamelessly. I'm still waiting for the common person to go, things are cheaper. Like, it's great. I can afford my rent and I can, make my car payment on time. I haven't heard anyone. Seen a
Yeah.
lot of like people living in La La Land go, everything's so great. Okay. How? Show me statistics, show me hard numbers. And they'll point to a tweet that Trump sent out without any real hard facts, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, how do you feel about the current state of America, the economy? I know we talk a lot about Gaza, but I'm curious, where do you see America going? Because I'm seeing America being ripped apart from the First Amendment all the way down to the common good.
Well, I mean, listen, like the inner circles of MAGA are as close to a cult like framework that I've seen within the political realms within American politics, right? It's unprecedented. And my initial career was working or helping people leave cult like organizations, religions, things of that nature.
Right.
And so for me to watch this whole paradigm play out in the presidency, it's still a bit of a state of shock. And when I say, people rely on cult-like figures when they're desperate, when they feel left behind, and they look for this authoritative figure to be my savior. I don't feel that I can save myself. I don't feel that I can give myself the life I want. These external institutions aren't helping me. So please, someone come from thin air and save me. And Trump has painted himself as this grandiose savior, and it's a con. And we're seeing a man who has been a con artist throughout his career now do so through the American presidency. It's interesting that he didn't feel confident enough to carry out in his first term, but clearly he has, quote unquote, the cojones to now carry out his second term.
Right.
The tariffs don't make fucking sense. I don't even understand. My education background isn't economics, right? But like, huh? Like,
Now, let me tell you this. I have a master's in business
yeah,
administration, right? And so this is the mental gymnastics I saw, especially from billionaire Bill Ackman, who's a prominent Trump supporter, but also one of the main guys involved in getting all the students kicked out of campuses. He's a big time Zionist. I remember him tweeting. I remember him tweeting when Trump first proposed the tariffs and put them on. He said, "This is a bad idea. Look, I'm a Trump supporter, but this is going to tank our businesses." And then
yeah.
I saw all these people in the comments, "What? You're sad that Wall Street's going to lose all this money because then it'll go to the middleman?" And then suddenly he reverses it today, and I
Really?
see and I see Bill Ackman go, "Oh, what a genius move. He knew
Oh,
exactly what
yeah.
he was doing the whole time." And I see the people in the comments go, "Yeah, see, we told you he knew what he was doing." So Wall Street jumps all these numbers today. Again, once again, how does this help the American public? I still don't know. I still can't tell you, you know?
I hope this wasn't like a buy low scheme, like, tank the economy, buy low, sell high for me and my buddies. I mean, it feels too ridiculous to be true, but I don't put anything past anyone because I
Yeah,
generally
at
don't
this
think Donald
point,
Trump cares about anything else but the applause he gets at his rallies and how his own sense of self is inflated and getting vengeance and revenge on those that he considers to have slighted him. So I think it's completely plausible that this was a little bit of a strategy in that direction as well. I will say that I've seen a lot of prominent conservative figures be like, "What the fuck with the tariffs?" And I generally don't. If we want to just talk about it from the political lens, I just generally don't understand the strategy. I do not think Donald Trump is playing 5D chess. I don't think that he thinks that far ahead. I don't like, I think, yeah, I don't think I don't understand
isn't that
that
hilarious?
notion.
I've seen so many people go, "Oh, he's playing like 4D chess. He's
But
thinking
that's
like 10 steps." No, this guy's not even thinking to the next step
But
ahead.
yeah, that's when you know that you're in a cult like mentality. When you
Right.
idolize someone and pedestalize someone to such an insane degree that logic and critical thinking goes out the window, that you never question a single decision that this person makes, no matter what they do. You morph through that cognitive dissonance and you do all this mental gymnastics to be like, this person's a genius, this person's perfect, because you've tied your identity and your concept of self to this individual.
Absolutely.
And so Trump has to be right for me to feel good about myself. And that's a very weird thing to like partake in.
I know. It's like the LeBron and Jordan debate. They're
Yeah.
not going to change anyone on it, right? Whoever is about the GOAT debate, they're going to lock their heels in, and that's the GOAT no matter what. I saw
That's fine,
today.
'cause that's about fucking basketball, you know? And like, so that's cool, man. But like, it's when it's like the leader of the free world making life
I
or death
know.
decisions.
But honestly,
Like,
things are so ridiculous right now.
yeah,
Everything feels like if you see some of the tweets that come out every day, today I saw from the White House, there's a picture of Trump in the White House behind the American flag, and in full caps it said, "Let him cook." This is America. This is the America we live in today. This isn't fake. That's not a fake meme. That was from the White House account. So I'm telling you, like, yes, we mentioned basketball. At this point, everything's just a joke, dude. And
yeah,
it's sad because we grew up thinking America is like built on something, you know? Like
yeah,
I hear that old school American like music. It's like I'm proud to be an American, or I
yeah,
am a real American, die for the rights of every man.
yeah.
Except here we are realizing, was any of that true at any point? Or are we just one big for sale corporate capitalist oligarch sellout? Because, dude, if you think about all the wars, we keep talking about how awful China is. China has not started the last like 50 like years of war, you know? And I'm starting to wonder, there's this big time streamer named Speed.
Speed.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been keeping
He
up with
went
it.
to China, bro. The
Looks
work that
great.
China looks like they're living
Looks
in
awesome.
2055. The
Yeah.
average city,
No,
not
I
even like
know.
main like stream Shanghai or wherever. These cities look amazing. They actually
Yeah.
put a lot of thing into their infrastructure. And look, I know it's going to piss some people off. They're going to go, "Well, why don't you go live in China?" Right? You love communism, all this propaganda program bullshit.
Yeah.
But the truth is, if you don't believe me, go watch that guy's
Yeah.
videos. Like that's an American in China showing you this is how China actually looks. People here are happy. People here are thriving. Don't believe everything that you're told by your government. I think at this point, you and I can both agree you shouldn't believe everything you're told by your government.
No, well, I think we've lived under this illusion. It's like the Christopher Hedges book, Empire of Illusion. America has painted themselves, and I think we're kind of coming out of our own propagandized like psychosis and delusion that we grew up under, where we were kind of told. It's almost like we've been projecting on China a little bit. Not that China's perfect, but like, yeah, I mean, I was shocked to see the videos in online recently of China and how beautiful it looks and how far ahead the infrastructure and architecture seems to be there. And meanwhile, we're here and our roads are falling apart, you know?
Same with
Our buildings
Russia.
are falling apart. Yeah. And
Saw a
so,
video of the Russian like metro recently.
yeah,
Bro, this once again, it looks like it's in 2045. And then you see
yeah.
the New York subway. I'd be scared
Well, I
to
mean, that
sit
was
on the
my
chair
whole
without
life.
like one of those toilet seat covers, you
I
know?
still have a soft spot for the New York subway from all the years I spent on it. But no, it has personality. But no, I'm with you. Well, look, I think we're coming out of our own propagandized delusions to a degree. I think we are finally seeing America for what it is, and we have problems. like we act as if we are this superior world empire with the highest quality of life. And maybe that was true to a degree in the baby boomer generation when we're talking now, like over 60, 70 years ago, but we've fallen so far from that. And so yeah, like we have lived in this government capitalistic system that hasn't been working for people for a long time, that has been very stagnant. Like our government has not been doing what it's been supposed to do because it's been in so much stagnancy, and it created space for this atom bomb of Donald Trump to come through. And now, like I said, I don't know what he's doing. It does not make sense. Like the tariffs put the cost back on the consumer. What jobs are you even trying to have return back to America? Like that's the thing that I'm really, America is not made for this like factory, like industrialist infra. Like that's not where we are anymore.
It's
So
not
you're
how it
tr-
works.
you're t taking jobs away from China, but these are not the jobs that Americans are even asking for or really needed. So when we're bringing the quote unquote the manufacturing back to America, like that's what I like with I don't even understand what the end goal is here. So it's clearly America's behind. We're behind in education. We're behind in healthcare. We're behind in infrastructure and the way that we're even building ourselves up. And we're behind in having a mentally, emotionally competent leader beyond, it's insane degree. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
fucking
You
know,
know,
man.
it's so funny you talk about the jobs that are coming back. The official like Twitter account for China, yes, China has an official Twitter account, released a AI generated video of Americans working in
I
sweatshops, and it
saw
just
that. Yeah.
showed these obese white Americans with like McDonald's like trying to work on like these tiny like sweatshop like knitting and sewing and
Yeah.
stuff, and it's just like, is that the like, I'm confused too. I'm curious, what is the angle? Because I saw, if Apple, I don't know if you saw, Apple flew in
Yeah.
5
iPhone.
airplanes worth of iPhones to avoid the tariffs, which just goes to show, look, corporate America, capitalist America will always find a way
Yeah.
around any law or rule you do. That's what they're great at. That's how we
Yeah.
even got into this situation in the first place. But
Yeah.
my point is, they asked Apple how much money would it take to produce an iPhone, one iPhone in America. It's at $3,500. $3,500. Then that means the average retail price, based on prices right now, would be close to like somewhere in the 10 grand, 20 grand. And it's just kind of like, is no one doing math at all in
Yeah.
the economics department in the White House? I don't think they are. I think they're playing loose and fast. I think they're thinking it's all going to work out in the end because, see, this is the problem. I keep telling people think Donald Trump is this average American guy who pulled himself up from his bootstraps. This guy is not in touch with reality. Every time shit went wrong, every time one of his businesses went bankrupt,
Yeah.
Daddy's money was there to bail him out. Someone was there to bail him out. But guess what? You can't bail the entire American population
Yeah.
out when you fuck up. And I don't know. I think, and I know we called MAGA a cult for a long time. And don't get me wrong, I think liberals can be just as bad too.
Oh, they have their own
There's
cultish.
liberals
Yeah.
that are like, don't criticize this, don't criticize that.
Yeah.
But by God, man, if you do not think that Donald Trump really is not fully competent at this point, you are lying to yourself. That's the
Yeah.
truth. On a funnier note, I saw Barack Obama do an interview earlier this week where he was like, can you imagine if I did like half of the stuff Donald Trump did? And in my head, I was like, yeah, you kind of did half of the stuff. Like, you bombed the hell out of
Yeah.
Libya. You destroyed Libya. You helped destroy Syria.
Yeah.
You literally sold billions of dollars of weapons to Israel as well. I was like, it's funny how they act like, can you imagine if that was me? You guys are literally the same person, like the same
Yeah.
step politician. It's just, he's just an asshole and open about it.
Well, I don't know. Listen, man, I've never been a fan of Obama's presidency. I will have to draw distinctions. This is unique, I think, and I mean, like, I mean that Trump is unique even compared to like George W. Bush. I mean, like Trump is unique compared to fucking even Reagan. And like I said, I think Obama was like a lame duck, and was as militaristic as any president like along him. But this is weird. Like
No, I mean, there's no
this is a little bit weirder.
yeah.
I mean, the man put out an AI video of golden idols of him in the Holy Land. You can't write this shit.
Yeah,
Like
you really,
I don't like this is absurd. Like
you know,
this is absurd.
I always heard, like, reality is stranger than fiction. The truth is stranger than
Yeah.
fiction. And I don't think I fully really understood that sentiment until what we are seeing the last 3 months of this presidency. And you know what's the scary part? It's only been 3 months.
Yeah, I know.
Like, there's still 3 and 3/4 of a year left,
Yeah.
years left of this
Yeah.
shit show. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't know where corporate media is headed. I don't know where these corporations are headed. All I know is the average American is paying for it, and they will continue to pay for it because none of these parties, none of these politicians care about the average person. They don't. And as much as you want to believe Trump was some X factor guy from the outside with his own money, that guy is probably not just, even more compromised than most of the politicians I feel like we see.
Well, I mean, and this was like the cultish mentality around him, right? When you start, like I said, you start looking at someone because they're a little bit different or they paint themselves as a savior, and you start creating a caricature around them as if they're like this invincible, mythical figure.
Right.
Right. And this is always how like fascist regimes start. You have a leader who paints themselves as this mythical figure and people buy it hook, line, and sinker. Like, this is a dude who grew up as wealthy as basically you can be, who has had every type of advantage and privilege. Like, no, he wasn't part of like this very like classical elitist class, but like his whole like vendetta was to like to be in their club, and if you don't let me in your club, I'll take you down.
Right.
Like this is not a man that like was overcoming these intense hardships and standing for something throughout his life. So this notion that he was going to work for the common person outside of merely just for the applause was ridiculous. And not to get into yeah, like I mean, come on, like the guy has every fucking sign and cue and signal of narcissistic personality disorder. Like it is to a T. And I don't want to play armchair psychologist here, but I mean, you could all see this from a mile down the road. So I'm watching some of his supporters break out. I have had people hit me up and be like, whoa, I know the Gaza video did it for a couple that I know. Like the AI Gaza video, like like I saw that wake people up and be like, yo, fuck this dude, like that were initially supporting him. I think seeing how little of an impact like Kennedy's been allowed to have in his thing, and that Kennedy has his like balls kind of held, like by Mossad agents
Bro, what
and
happened
I
to
don't like
RFK Jr.? Oh
yeah.
my God. I haven't heard a single, the very vaccines, he was so anti-vaccine.
Uh,
He's promoting that you go get all your vaccines now.
oh, I
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah. And what's even more nuts, I remember when he was coming into office, he said, my main initiative is to fix our food and, vet the vaccines.
Uh,
He announced 1 week into the presidency or 2 weeks that his main goal is to fight anti-Semitism in the public health sphere, which blows my mind because not once did I hear that from him at all when he was campaigning or running. So I'm just like, what is going on? And then this is where people start saying, oh, like, you're being an anti-Semite yourself by even, and I'm like, it's not anti-Semitic.
no, but you got to pass from me.
I'm like,
I'm
they're
not. It's
literally
fine.
doing
Don't
it
worry.
in your face, bro. Like you don't have to beat around the bush. Like,
Yeah.
let's be honest, whatever the Israeli government has on this administration is damning to say the least, because I've never seen such, for lack of better words, cucks in my life to
Yeah.
Netanyahu. And not even Biden was this level of cuck. Like, don't get me wrong, he didn't do anything like to stop it, but by God, like, it's
Yeah, it's weird. So my understanding of the history of like the US like Israel dynamic, right, was that like Israel was almost a chess piece for like the US to move around and like I mean it was basically like a sponsored entity by the US, right? Like dating all the way back to the late 40s. And so it's interesting like where that flip came about, where that like reverse in relationship came about, where this very small like government political entity seems to have this level of control on American policy and almost that Israel like America's now working for Israel, and it's weird because you're seeing it play out in real time. You're seeing that like Trump is putting on all this bravado in front of Zelensky, but then he's pulling out chairs as if he's a servant for Netanyahu. And it's just not to get into conspiracy theories because I don't have the fucking mental or emotional bandwidth to even start to look in this direction.
right.
But like I can't even handle it. But like what's beyond Netanyahu? Like what's beyond Trump that is like dictating this? Because this is something else. You know what I mean? Like it's very clear to see that these are business and corporate interests that go way beyond what we can fathom, because this is just all very odd. This is like what Kennedy coming out and saying what he's saying. Like I don't know. I don't. The strange thing for me too is that, like I said, we've talked about this. I've experienced anti-Semitism in my life. I grew up in a fucking backwoods town during my teen years in Arizona. I did get Nazi signs drawn on my binder. Like I got called kike. Like all that stuff happened. There's only a handful of us in this whatever. Like very like
Right.
red town. So like the anti-Semitism that I experienced typically came from people who support Trump. So I don't even know where this reverse. This all feels backwards to me. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah, I think, look, this is the part where I think every, even Zionist who is aligning themselves with Trump,
Yeah.
you have to understand what the end goal is for the typical evangelical Zionist Christian. It is the
Yeah.
destruction of the Jewish people. Whether you want to,
Yeah.
say, oh, that's not true. Don't listen to me. Go talk to
Yeah.
them. Go read the Bible. It's not it's not my opinion,
Yeah.
and so it's just kind of like you're making a deal with the devil. And
Yeah.
sooner or later, there is no honor among thieves. There's not. And I tell people today, it's them tomorrow it's us. And I feel like with everything going on with the deportations, I saw Marco Rubio get up there and say, if you're an anti-Semite, we're going to find you and we're going to deport you. And I was
It's so
like,
weird.
whoa, bro, you won't even say that to like racists or Klansmen or like, white supremacists. But here you are deporting people that you deem specifically, not legally by any definition, but your personal opinion, which is any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic. So I don't know. I think Israel has done so much damage to the Judaism as a whole by trying to conflate a government with a whole ass religion. It's a shame, man. Like it's an absolute shame. And I don't know. It's the same way, it's almost like a reverse sentiment. Let me tell you, after 9/11, hated Saudi Arabia. I still hate Saudi
Yeah.
Arabia. And
Yeah.
everyone, if something happened in Saudi Arabia or something happened, in Iraq, every Muslim would feel the brunt of it. It didn't matter if
Yeah.
you were nowhere from that country. Every Muslim would feel the brunt of it. And I feel like what Israel is setting itself up to do is the exact same. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter how every other Jew feels or how individuals feel. What they do, they're saying is the will of the Jewish people, which I just think that is an awful precedent. I think that's a awful thing to do. I mean, how do you feel about that personally?
Oh, it's dumb as fuck. First off, I just feel like everyone is in some type of weird religious psychosis. Like I just feel like there is this weird people are not connected into reality and are trying to carry out like some ridiculous interpretation of the Old or New Testament from over 2000. I'm someone who like has had an awakening to Jesus and believes in some of the teachings of the Old Testament, but like this is absurd. Like this is absurdist. And so you watch a religion become a government state. I don't even know how my Jewish background or Judaism itself, or even the essence or spirituality of Judaism is inherent in the state of Israel. I mean, it's absolutely not, like, because under what type of relationship with God would you feel okay to murder children? The whole thing's just ridiculous, man. Like this everything's just fucking ridiculous. Uh I don't even know what else to say. Like I wish I could give it some really more articulate, like sophisticated language, but this is dumb.
It
Like
is. It's
that's
very
I
dumb.
don't know. That's just kind of where I'm
I don't
at.
know. I just didn't think, don't get me wrong. I knew the average American was uneducated or didn't care. I just didn't think it was this bad, I
Bro,
guess.
like look at our public education system. Like, what did you grow up learning? What did
That is
I grow?
so
I didn't
true.
grow. I didn't learn anything
Oh
in
my
my
gosh, I didn't learn a
school.
damn thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so but this is obviously like we went on to educate ourselves outside of school, but like for most people, we've been given shitty educations that was just kind of regurgitating facts. You get out of school, you're trying to make a living. We didn't even have like appropriate civics classes to really understand our rights, to understand how to carry out our civic duty. And people are just trying to make ends meet. So I mean, I'm not shocked with how uninformed they are. I think it's sad. I also don't think it's a lot of people's fault, but like, our government does thrive to a degree on keeping the common person uneducated, and we're seeing it right now.
Very true. Very true. And, I mean, I think great example. I don't know if you saw Cory Booker's stand-up special where he did 25 hours filibustering, thinking it was amazing. It was the longest filibuster in American history. It was a big fat nothing burger because
Yeah.
all he did was say, "This is a moment for us all to wake up
There's a
and
moment for his
oppose Trump."
2028 run.
And ironically, right after he did that filibuster, he went and voted in hand with Republicans to send $8.8
Oh, did he
billion
really?
dollars
Yeah.
worth of military weapons to Israel. So
Yeah.
my point is, the sad part is even the people who told us, and these aren't, old white conservative men. These are people of color. These are people who deem to be liberal or they deem
Yeah.
to care about the community. They're lying to us too.
Yeah.
Everyone, basically, they're all lying to us.
Yeah.
And I think we need a new party, absolutely. Or something needs to be done. The Democrat Party needs to just be like a phoenix, like just burn
No,
it
we're gonna have to
down
tear it down.
and
Like
come back.
we're gonna have to tear it down. We're gonna have to tear it down.
It
I don't.
has to be torn
Yeah.
down. Like they
Yeah.
had the lowest approval rating, even more than Trump, because their own base hates them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, like I haven't met a single Democrat that's like, oh yeah, I'm so proud of the Democrats for everything they're
Yeah.
doing. They're not doing shit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Chuck Schumer just agreed to Trump's deal and then refused to step down. And everyone was like, okay, cool. It's just politics. Politicians as a whole is a cabal of corruption. But I will say what's nuts to me is how bad and open it's gotten in America. And usually this is the kind of stuff you see before shit hits the fan, right?
Yeah.
Like before you either have martial law or you have anarchy or revolution, which I don't know where we're headed. I really don't. But I do know if you keep pushing the population the way they've started out the gate so far,
Yeah.
it's a matter of time before people get pushed over the edge. I already think some are being pushed over the edge. I don't know who they thought Trump would be. I don't know who they thought he would come in and save, but I don't know. He hasn't done any of that stuff. And a lot of MAGA people I talk to are saying that too. And not just me, a lot of MAGA talk show hosts, pro-Trump talk show. I saw Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, all these really pro-Trump people be like, yo, what is this guy doing?
Yeah.
This is not America first, which, America first, right? What did that even ever mean? What do you think?
White Christian nationalists first.
White Christian. It's a dog whistle, right? Like, can we go back to the 50s, 60s where I didn't have to see minorities in my neighborhood?
Well, I'll say this, and then because I want to wrap this up. Trump did say something that was a very good window into how he sees the world and what his objectives was. They asked him, when was America greatest? Like, what is this period that you're trying to return to? And he said America was greatest between 1870, I believe, 1913. Okay. During that time period, America was in a really tough spot. The lower and middle class struggled immensely. Do you know who succeeded, though, really well during that time period?
Probably Wall Street.
The ultra wealthy.
Yep.
The ultra wealthy did as well as they've ever done during that time period. And so that was such an interesting look in actually how he is perceiving the world and how he is perceiving the goals and objectives of his presidency, right? When was America great? During a time when everyone else struggled, but the elitist class, but Wall Street, but the extremely wealthy. So we know what this guy's actually after, okay? And he's not for the common man. That was a con job, okay? And we're all on this journey together for the next almost 4 years. But I will say this, like, I understand the feelings of powerlessness and helplessness. I know that both of us are experiencing it now. Many people I've communicated with are feeling similar. But I think this is a moment for new blood to get ejected into the political sphere, into these political parties, to rip and tear down all the system and the machine that clearly no longer works for it, and to create a new foundation and build something new. I think we've got 4 years. I think we are going to do it, but right now it's kind of that void and dark state of like just shock and just like, what the fuck? And I feel like once it settles, we'll get a little bit clearer on where to go. And yeah, fuck this administration, man. I'm just gonna say it flat out.
Yeah, I mean, my sentiments are exactly with you. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I'm an optimist. At the end of the day, I have hope, but damn, does life feel hopeless nowadays?
Yeah.
And I'll
I
be the
get it,
first to
man.
admit that.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's like, hey, it's gonna work out. Let's keep moving. Let's keep going. But by God, it is. We're drudging through like sledge right now. That's
Yeah,
how
for
it
sure.
feels.
No,
So,
I'm with you, dude.
all right.
And on that, thank you for joining us on this incredibly optimistic and hopeful and shiny episode. Look forward to seeing you next time.
The most mundane episode probably yet. So let's hope ever so it doesn't have to be this bad continued.